All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show where we cover the SWAC inside and out. Of course, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC, Seawells, coming at you, and it is week 7. And not only is it week 7, but I'm SWAC, baby. That's the only thing I wanted to say about that. I'm not talking about that stuff at all. There was a few days ago. It's over with to me, and let's move on. But I just feel like cracking a little joke there. But seriously, man, y'all, welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in. Like I said, it's week 7, and we're gonna get into it, man. This is starting to be crunch time. We are in our 3rd week of October, and it is time, man. It's time to get busy. So, as you can see, the socials on the screen down below. You can go ahead and check those out. Facebook is Swag Talk, Instagram Swag Talk, Twitter Swag Talk 76. And if you look up over my right shoulder, you can see the little thing. If you want to donate a little money to the show, be much appreciated. Hit the Cash App, $ Swag Talk. Like to thank you for that. I also like to thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, then won't you please go ahead and do so. And if you have, man, why don't you tell somebody else to subscribe, man? Let's get these numbers up. We are almost at 750, and we're making our way up to 1K. So just thank you for everybody that's already subscribed and everybody who will do so. Make sure you hit that notification bell to be alerted to anything that I drop. And like the video, share them, and feel free to comment about your thoughts on week 7. So, and let's jump into it. Let's start off with this first game of the season, of the week. FAMU is at Grambling. So this is another chance for FAMU to pull off another victory. They've been on a bit of a roll these last few weeks, bouncing back from that bad start at the beginning of the season, and they've won 4 in a row. So they are pretty hot, and they're playing not great football, but they're playing football that's good enough to win. I will say they really haven't had I guess the closest, last week was a challenge, but that game they were leading 20-0 in the third quarter, and kind of let the Bulldogs back in. So I think that they haven't played a complete game yet. Grambling had probably one of their better outings of the season last week against Alabama A&M. They were ultimately losing double overtime. Some of the issues that Grambling has had this season are still there. They played 3 quarterbacks in this game, varying success from each guy. So they're still juggling quarterbacks. The running game is still, kind of up and down. Still not consistent offensively. Defensively, they played fairly well, but they hung in this game and they kept themselves in it until the end. When they ultimately were unable to score on their final possession or overtime. But this week is a tougher test for the Tigers. They're taking on a FAMU team that, like I said, they haven't played great, but they've played well enough to win. And I think, that's something that's probably going to carry on for probably the bulk of the season. FAMU comes into this game averaging 23.7 points per game, which is 5th in the league. Grambling is 6th in the league at 23 points even per game. Total scoring defense, FAMU is 7th in the league, allowing 29 points per game. Grambling is last in the league, allowing 42 points per game. So Grambling is giving up a lot of points now. That's kind of skewed by a couple games, but they have not really been able to keep teams off the scoreboard this season. So let's look at total offense. Grambling is 11th in the league in total offense at 295 yards per game. FAMU is 6th in the league at 343 yards per game. Grambling defensively is 10th in the league in total defense at 440 per game. FAMU is 6th in the league at 374 per game. So as you can see, there's a bit of a difference there. Rushing offense, FAMU is last in the league at 82 yards per game. Right now, they are the only team in the league that averages under 100 yards per game rushing. Grambling is at 122, which is 10th in the league. Grambling also averages 3.9 yards per carry. and FAMU is at 2.7 yards per carry. So neither one of these teams is really a good running team. Now, to me, that's a bit surprising for Grambling because they have hit some explosive runs over the course of the season, but they can't down in and down out move the ball down the field on the ground. They just, they either hit or miss. They either hit a big play or they don't do much. Last week was probably one of their more consistent games moving the football this season. So maybe they're turning in the right direction, but we'll see as we pass the halfway point of the season. Grambling is 10th in the league in rushing defense at 217 yards per game allowed, and they allow 4.9 yards per carry. FAMU is 7th in the league in rushing at 148, and they allow 4.5 yards per carry. Passing offense, Grambling is 8th in the league in passing offense at 173 yards per game, and FAMU is 2nd in the league in passing offense at 260 yards per game. FAMU has 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Grambling has 8 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Again, Grambling can hit the big pass. They've had quite a few 70-yard passes, but they just haven't been able to string together, back-to-back passes or, a couple here, a couple there. They just haven't had that consistency in either phase of the offense. FAMU passes the ball well. Musa's been, clicking with his receivers, especially Xavier Smith. His numbers have really shot up this season. Jamari Reed is also having a good season at receiver. So they have the guys to make the plays through the air, and that's going to be a problem for Grambling defensively. Grambling allows 222 yards per game through the air. They have that puts them at 7th place. Opponents have 13 touchdowns. Grambling only has 2 interceptions this season. FAMU is 9th in the league in passing defense at 226 yards per game allowed, and opponents have 14 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Let's see. Right now, Grambling is averaging 40 yards per punt, so that's a pretty solid number. Right now, if you break this down by average, Grambling is 6th in the league in punting at 40 yards per punt. FAMU is 4th at 40.9 yards per punt. So both teams have pretty solid numbers punting wise. They both do pretty well with that. Returning on the punt return, which is something I always like to kind of keep my eyes on. FAMU allows 4 yards per return, and Grambling allows 3.2. So not a big difference. Neither team that puts them both around the bottom portion of the league in terms of your yards per return. But they both are pretty solid special teams wise. Especially FAMU is very, very solid special teams. Grambling special teams has been pretty good too. So this should be a nice special teams battle. I do like the FAMU return game, with Shareed and Smith. I think this could be a week that maybe they get loose. Grambling allows 14 sacks on the season, which is 9th in the league. FAMU allows 13 sacks, which is 7th in the league. FAMU has 13 sacks as a defense, which is 5th in the league, and Grambling has 9, which is 10th in the league. Like I said, Grambling is last in the league with 2 interceptions, and FAMU is 2nd with 7. First downs, Grambling averages 14.2 first downs per game, which is last. FAMU averages 20.2, which is 4th. FAMU's opponents, they average 20.2 first downs, which is 7th in the league, and Grambling's opponents average 24.2, which is 11th in the league. Third down conversions, Grambling is last at 24%. FAMU is 6th at 34.5%. Grambling and FAMU are pretty neck and neck on defensive third downs. Grambling allows 33%, FAMU 34%. Fourth down conversions, Grambling converts. They convert 50% of their third downs, which is 5th in the league. FAMU leads the league with 66% third down conversions. Grambling has 66% fourth down conversions. Grambling has 12 fourth down attempts, which is the second most in the league. FAMU has 9. Grambling's opponents They average 66. They have a 66% completion rate on fourth down, which is last, and FAMU's opponents complete 44% of their fourth downs, which is seventh. Looking at FAMU as a team, um, individually, like I said, it pretty much starts with the passing game. Jeremy Musa is the guy this season. You know, he's been playing better week in and week out. As the season goes on, his numbers have improved. So that's really something that you can kind of hang your hat on if you're the Rattlers. The running game, like I said, I'm still not in love with the running attack. Right now, this team, they like I said, they kind of struggle with the run game, and if you can find somebody who can make some things happen, whether it's Jennings or McLeod, right now McLeod and has 240 yards to lead the team and 3 touchdowns. Jennings has 201 yards and 2 touchdowns. They both average about 4 yards per carry, so they're pretty solid guys individually, but as a team, they don't really pick up a lot of yardage in the running game, and that's, to me, is something that can hurt this team in a game if they can't find a way to kind of offset that passing offense with a pretty decent running attack. Now, the offense is not as explosive as 2019, but it's similar in the fact that the passing game was so much more ahead of the running attack. Like I said, Musa right now, he's 121 of 218, 1,511 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He's been going really heavily to Xavier Smith. He has 48 catches for 548 yards and 7 touchdowns on the season. Shareed has 22 catches for 315 yards and a touchdown. So as you can see, that's a big gap between 1 and 2 in receptions. They only have 2 other guys with double-digit receptions, and that's Oxendine with 12 and Manigo with 11. Defensively, Isaiah Major is the guy that leads this team in tackles. He's been all over the place. He has 52 tackles on the season. He also has 5 tackles for loss. Isaiah Land, I'm not sure his status. I heard he got banged up against South Carolina State. So if he's good to go, obviously that's a weapon that you want on your defense. BJ Bowler is a solid guy in the secondary. This team is solid all over on defense. I'm not quite sure. This defense is probably not as good as last season's defense, but I think they're very solid, and they don't make a lot of mistakes. They've been able to, make some things happen this season. That last season, they really, last season they were dominant. This season they're more able to kind of make some things happen. They've been getting better week in and week out. So it's going to be a tough task for Grambling to move the football in this game. The running attack for Grambling is always a threat to bust a big run with a guy like Maurice Washington. He has 213 yards on the season. He averages 10.7 yards per carry. He has 4 touchdowns. He's missed a couple games. He played last week, but still didn't get a lot of carries. So I don't know, whether they got him on like a pitch count, so to speak, or if they just don't feed him the ball a lot. But if he's healthy and good to go, then I think that's a guy that needs to touch the ball a lot, whether it's running the ball or catching the ball. He needs to have the ball in his hands. He's an explosive guy. You don't want to limit your own team success by not giving him the ball. Other than that, they have a lot of younger guys behind him. Nobody really has stood out. You still have, returning guys like CJ Russell and Keelan Elder. They, are up and down with carries. Hawkins can run the ball at quarterback. Amy can run the ball at quarterback. So there are guys that can run the football. It's just finding somebody or somebody's to consistently move the ball on the ground for you. Passing wise, Calvez got the start last week. We'll see what they do this week. Nobody has mind blowing numbers out of Calvez or Hawkins. Calvez is 15 of 45, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 159 yards, completes 33% of his passes. Hawkins, 59 of 121, 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He completes 49% of his passes, 859 yards. So neither one of these guys has great numbers. The receiving core is led by Lyndon Rash with 18 catches for 351 yards and 3 touchdowns. After that, nobody has more than 9 catches. So they, this offense is still looking for those consistent pieces. And it's week 6, so it's week 7. So to me, that's troubling. I mean, you still have you still have 5 games left, but I feel like it's almost too late to be still looking for guys. To me, it's almost too late to be saying you need to be consistent with your offense, and that's a problem for me. That doesn't mean they can't put together some wins and finish the season off strong, but it's just troubling right now to me to say that. Lewis Matthews is the leading tackler on the team. He has 54. Joshua Reed has 40. Matthews also leads the team with 7 tackles for loss. Sundiata Anderson, 4.5. Anderson leads the team with 3 sacks, Powell with 2, and the interceptions are by Thomas and Lee. Like I said, I think this game is pretty straightforward. Honestly, I think this game is basically how FAMU handles this game. If they come out and they take care of the ball early, they put together a couple of early drives and they get some consistent play by their running game, even if it's not a lot. I mean, they can run the ball for like 100, 125 yards. I think that helps them a lot in this game. If Grambling is still up and down and hasn't had a consistent offensive attack, that is going to be a tough game for them to win. So I like FAMU in this game by a score of 28-13. I think Grambling's going to fight. I think they're going to be tough. This is their first game at home this season, so I think they'll be fired up. But I think FAMU's defense be stout enough to keep Grambling kind of on their toes. And I think FAMU will be able to hit enough offensive plays to win this game and continue their winning streak. The next game we have is Mississippi Valley State at Alabama State. Both of these teams are coming in off of losses. Valley obviously hasn't won a game yet this season. They're 0-6. Alabama State is coming off of a loss to Jackson State, where they were in this game. Defensively, I think they played a solid game. Offensively, they just couldn't convert enough to give them a great opportunity of winning this game. Score was 17-12 late in the game. So they were in it, and defensively is the reason why. Alabama State's defense is a top 5 defense in the league. They are very solid. Valley is continuing to have the same problems that they've had all year. They can't move the ball offensively. The running game has shown, splashes early in the games. They can't finish. They really kind of not tap out, but they kind of run out of gas after the first half, and they have yet to be in a game late in the game. So this team, is kind of, they're just not playing good football right now. Valley is averaging 8.5 points per game. Alabama State is averaging 15 points per game. So this is the 11th and the 12th offenses in terms of scoring. So and you put that on top of an Alabama State defense that is pretty stingy for the league, allowing 22 points per game. I think this is going to be a low scoring affair for Valley for sure. Alabama State, like I said, allows 22 points per game. Valley allows 35. Total offense, Valley is last in the league at 240 yards per game. They average 4 yards per play. Alabama State is 10th in the league, averaging 301 per game and 5 yards per play. Defensively, Valley is last in the league at 480 yards per game. And Alabama State is 3rd in the league defensively, allowing 334 per game. Valley is 9th in the league in rushing offense at 129 yards per game. They average 3.5 yards per carry. Alabama State 11th in the league. They average 111 per game and 3.1 yards per carry. Valley is 8th in the league in rushing defense at 152 yards per game. They allow 4.3 yards per carry. Alabama State is 4th in the league at 137 yards per game and 4 yards per carry. The passing attacks, Alabama State is sixth in the league at passing at 189 yards per game. And they have 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Valley is last in the league at 110 yards per game. They have 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Passing defense, Valley is last at 328 yards per game. They have allowed 15 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Alabama State is fifth in the league, 196 yards per game, 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Punting, Alabama State averages 40.3 yards per punt, which would put them at fifth in the league. Valley is third at 41.7 yards per punt. Again, 2 solid punting units. Defensively, Valley has allowed 20 sacks in the season, which is 12th in the league. Alabama State has allowed 16 sacks, which is 10th in the league. And Alabama State's defense is 6th in the league at 12 sacks, and Valley is also 6th at 12 sacks. So both teams do a pretty solid job at getting to the quarterback. Neither team does a good job of protecting their quarterback. Now, both quarterbacks are kind of mobile guys, so they will kind of scramble and get sacked, but neither team is really lighting it up offensively. Defensively, Alabama State's the best unit in this game, so I think they're going to dictate this entire game. Valley averages 14.5 first downs per game, which is 11th in the league. Alabama State 18.2, which is 7th. Alabama State allows 20 first downs per game, which is 4th, and Valley allows 24, which is last. Third down conversions, Valley is at 30.2%, which is 10th in the league. Alabama State is 30.7, which is 3rd. So they do a pretty good job of at least extending drives on an offensive standpoint. Alabama State opponents convert 37% on third downs, which is 6th in the league. And Valley's opponents are at 48.9, which is 11th in the league. Fourth down conversions, Valley is 2nd at 62.5%. They have 8 fourth down conversions attempts. Alabama State is 10th in the league at 40%. They have 5 fourth down attempts, have converted 2. Valley's opponents convert 62% on fourth downs, 5 of 8. And Alabama State's opponents convert 25% on fourth down, which is 2 of 8. Looking at Valley individually, the running game basically starts with Caleb Johnson, and he has 349 yards this season, 3.9 yards per carry. Not on, last season he was a 1,000-yard rusher. This season, they with some of the losses they've had on this team, the numbers are down. Jacoby Thomas is at 170 yards per game, and then Jamari Jones can also run the ball at quarterback. He has 97 yards. Jones has basically taken over at quarterback. He's 45 of 79 this season, 508 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception, completing 57% of his passes. Right now, the top receiver would be Ja'Cory Rankin. He has 10 catches for 102 yards. After that, nobody else has any double-digit catches. They have 4 guys with 7 catches apiece. Kobe Bates has 126 yards. That's basically because he has an 83-yard touchdown. Other than that, Caleb Johnson has 7 catches. D'Angelo Wagner has 7 catches. Miles Hobson has 7 catches. And Sylvester Campbell has 7 catches. So they pretty much, they spread the ball around. They don't really throw too deep in the passing game. They kind of trying to get their guys out in space and see what happens, but they haven't really had any consistency, especially after the first half in games. Ronnie Thomas is the best guy on his defense and one of the top defenders in the league. He has 37 tackles to lead the team. Kenneth Martin has 35. Thomas has 12.5 tackles for loss. Jalen Bell is second with 4. So you can see that's a big gap in between first and second place on the team. Thomas is always going to be around the ball, whether it is in the backfield or away from the line of scrimmage. He's definitely going to be he's going to be there. So number 50 is always your guy to keep an eye out on if you're an opposing team. And he has 7 sacks on the season, so he's a disruptive guy on their defense. Alexander has 2 interceptions to lead the team. He has both of their interceptions. Alabama State has a 3-headed monster at running back. They have Santo Dunn at 260 yards and 1 touchdown. Corey Merritt, 258, and 1 touchdown. Juwan Howell, who is more that power guy, he has 143 yards. and 3 touchdowns. Demetrius Davis can also run, but he's been, banged up. Pretty much every game he's been, has a nick, a bruise here and now. So, he hasn't been able to fully be available this season, but he's also hasn't been that consistent this season as well. So, it's either him or Miles Crawley at quarterback. Crawley is probably the better guy in terms of just being a overall quarterback. Davis is probably more dynamic, but he's been so inconsistent. Davis is 46 of 76, 535 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, completing 61% of his passes. Crawley, 37 of 65, also completing 57% of his passes. Like I said, Davis is 61%, 502 yards for Crawley, 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. They have some good receivers. Jeremiah Hickson has 17 catches for 143 yards and a touchdown. Levante Chenault, 14 catches, 210 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Scott, 12 catches, 203 yards and a touchdown. Keyshawn Johnson has 8 catches and 160 yards and a touchdown. Also, Santo Dunn and Ja'Cory Merritt each have 6 catches out the backfield. So they have the weapons, the pieces, however you want to put it. They have it. They just haven't been able to really move the football, in any game really, consistently. Defensively, like I said, that's their top unit, and Bubba Adams leads that unit with 59 tackles. Ershaw Davis has 36. Brandon Gaddy has 29 tackles for loss. Maddox with 5.5, Gaddy with 5, Adams with 4.5, Davis with 4 sacks. Young Roll has 3, and Gaddy has 2 along with Ogletree. The interceptions, Maddox has 2, Keenan Isaac has 2, and Jackson has 1. So this game is going to be pretty much probably, dictated by the Alabama State defense. I think that defense is going to, hold Valley down. I don't think Valley's going to really be able to move the ball much. Valley has struggled moving the ball in all their games this season, so I don't see that stopping at this point. Valley's defense is going to stand up. They're not going to lay down. They'll be game. The numbers aren't great for Valley, but defensively, but they're going to be one of those teams that they don't go away. You're probably going to put some points on them, but they're not going to go. They're not going to quit, and they're not going to quit in this game. But I think Alabama State's offense will be able to have some success because their defense will wear down due to Valley's offense not being able to move the ball much. So I like Alabama State in this game by a score of 31-9. A nice bounce back game for them before they go into their bye week before the Magic City Classic. So this is a big bounce back week for Alabama State, and this be their first chance to kind of keep things on a football level and put last week's shenanigans behind them. So this will be the first start to turn some things around and kind of get the rest of your season going. Speaking of that handshake fiasco, and like I said, I'm not going to talk about that no more, but Jackson State goes to Jacksonville to take on Bethune-Cookman. So Jackson State, like last week, they didn't have a great scoring night, but they still moved the ball really well through the air. The running game was kind of up and down. Defensively, they did what they do on defense, which is stifle you. They didn't allow Alabama State to really have much success. Alabama State's defense kept them in the game. Jackson State offense kind of was, up and down, but they find ways to make plays when they need to. And if you're not able to stop them, then you obviously are going to give up a lot of points. Bethune-Cookman surprisingly got blowed out by Tennessee State, at least to me, surprisingly. They were doomed by 24.4 second quarter, where they gave up multiple turnovers, and Tennessee State was able to capitalize it, and ultimately they lost 41-17. So not a great way to come into a game against a team that can score a lot of points and doesn't really give up a lot of points. And that was a step back for Bethune-Cookman because the last couple of weeks they have been playing better football. They took a step back, and now they got to try to regroup against a team that's tough to regroup against. Jackson State leads the league with 43 points per game scoring. Bethune-Cookman is 8th at 20.4. Jackson State leads the league in scoring defense at 9.8 points per game allowed. Bethune-Cookman is 11th at 39 points per game. Total offense, Jackson State is first, 515 yards per game. They average 6.7 yards per play. Bethune-Cookman is third in the league in total offense, so the offense is not bad. They're actually a pretty solid offensive unit. They average 377 yards per game. They average 5.9 yards per play. Defensively, Jackson State allows 183 yards per game. That's first by a huge margin, over 120 yards per game difference between first and second place. Bethune-Cookman is 11th in the league at 442 yards per game. They allow 6.6 yards per play. Jackson State allows 3.3 yards per play. So you're just not gonna really get much against Jackson State unless you hit for a big play, and they don't allow a lot of those. But they have been giving up a few here and there. Jackson State is fourth in the league in rushing offense, which is definitely a big improvement for their offense. And it's one of those things that I said that would make this offense even more dangerous. The fact that you put a running attack that averages 157 yards per game and 4.7 yards per carry, you put that with a passing attack that's very explosive, and you have to pick your poison this season. Bethune-Cookman is seventh in the league in rushing at 150 yards per game, and they average 4.9 yards per carry. Jackson State defensively allows 72 yards per game rushing and 2.5 yards per carry. Bethune-Cookman's offense allows 228 yards per game and 5.8 yards per carry. Like I said, the Jackson State passing attack, 358 yards per game, 18 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions, completing 72% on passes. Bethune-Cookman is third in passing offense at 226 yards per game. They have 4 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, so that's definitely something that's gonna be a key factor for them in this game is turnovers. Like I said, they have 9 interceptions, which is the second most in the league, passing wise. Offensively, so they really struggle with turnovers. Passing defense, Jackson State allows 111 yards per game, which is first in the league. They have 3 touchdowns allowed and 6 interceptions. Bethune-Cookman allows 214 through the air, 9 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Punting, Jackson State doesn't have to punt much. They've only punted 14 times, which is the second least amount of punts on the season. They average 37.6 yards per punt. Bethune-Cookman's only punted 15 times, so neither team punts much. 15 punts for Bethune-Cookman for 35.3 yard per punt average. Sacks allowed, Bethune-Cookman has allowed 14 sacks on the season. Jackson State has allowed 9. That's the third and eighth in sacks allowed, respectively. Jackson State is second in the league with 18 sacks. So Bethune-Cookman is definitely have to do a good job protecting the quarterback. Bethune-Cookman only has 6 sacks as a defense. That's tied for last. So that's definitely, like I said, they have to protect the quarterback, and it's hard for teams to kind of stand in the pocket and throw against Jackson State. Having a guy who can run the ball at quarterback can kind of slow some things down for them and maybe open up some plays. But they're going to have to take care of the football first and foremost in this game. Bethune-Cookman averages 18 first downs a game. Jackson State leads the league with 27.6. Jackson State's opponents only average 11 first downs per game, and Bethune-Cookman's opponents average 24 first downs per game. Jackson State leads the league in third down conversions at 48%. Bethune-Cookman is 8th at 31%. Bethune-Cookman is last in the league, allowing 49% third down conversion rate, and Jackson State leads the league at 21% allowed. Fourth downs, Bethune-Cookman is 7th in the league at 4 of 9 for 44%. Now, they attempted 6 fourth down conversions against Tennessee State, so they were ultra aggressive in that game on fourth downs, whether it was by necessity or just, they felt like it. But 6 fourth down attempts is a lot in any game. So basically 2/3 of their attempts came in that one game. So, I don't know, if they're going to be that super aggressive going forward, or if that was just a situational thing. Jackson State's opponents are 4 of 8 for 50%, which is 4th in the league. I mean, they are 4 of 8, which are 50% in the league, which is 4th. Jackson State's opponents are 2 of 7 for 28%, which is 5th in the league. Bethune-Cookman's opponents are 4 of 8 for 50%, which is 8th in the league. Looking at Jackson State individually, you have a nice running attack this season. You got Wilkerson with 411 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Marshall, 202, 7.5 yards per carry. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet this season. Probably, maybe he'll get one this week. Martin, 88 yards, 4 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Shedeur Sanders is not a runner per se, but he's a guy that can definitely extend the play and scramble if he needs to. So that's always something that you have to look out for, especially on a 3rd down. If something's not there, he will take off. He's not gonna run the ball a lot just to run it, but he's a guy who will get those attempts in if necessary. He's 151 of 208 passing, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, completing 73% of his passes for 1,726 yards. And when he goes to the air, he can go to anybody. And I'm not just saying that. He has 7 guys with at least 10 catches. Dallas Daniels has 31 catches. Shane Hooks has 28 catches. DJ Stevens has 16. Buckley has 11. Willie Gaines, who has come on these last few weeks, he has 11 catches. Kevin Coleman has 10 catches. J.D. Martin has 10 catches. Then you still have guys like Quay Davis and Rico Powers. They both have 7 catches. And Wilkerson and Marshall, both guys who catch the ball. Then you have, Rucker that can catch the ball, who hasn't really had a lot of action this season. But there's a ton of guys that can catch the ball. So you have to you can't lock in on anybody in this passing attack. They're gonna be able to spread the ball around it. Any week, any one of those guys can be the guy that goes for the big numbers, and that's tough for a defense because you can't single out a guy, and that really hurts you because you have to spread your defense so thin, and also accounting for the run game this season just really makes you just have to pick your poison, so to speak. Defensively, Aubrey Miller and Cameron Silman Craig, they are tied for 26 tackles to lead the team. John Huggins has 20. Davis has 19. Niles Gaddy with 8, also with 19. Gaddy leads the team with 7 tackles for loss. Davis 4.5. Reagan 4.5. Craig 3.5. Devontae Davis 3. They get it done almost by committee this season on defense. They don't necessarily have the one guy with the big numbers, like a James Houston last season. Niles Gaddy leads the team with 4.5 sacks. They have a lot of guys with at least a half a sack. So they get it done by numbers this season. That's not to say they didn't have a ton of guys that could make plays last season, but you had a guy like James Houston who had huge numbers. It looks that way. This season, anybody, just like that passing attack, anybody can be a weapon on this defense. So you kind of have to be aware of everybody. You can't just key in on any guy. Interceptions, they have 6 guys with 1 interception apiece. So again, they just are a team. They do it by numbers this season, and they're very good at what they do on both sides of the ball. Bethune-Cookman, they are a team who you kind of know who you're gonna have to stop. And the running game is led by Quayshawn Bird. He has 295 yards and 1 touchdown. He averages 5.9 yards per carry. Jalen Jones has ran the ball better as the season went on. He has 277 yards, 5.9 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. Also, Jimmy Robinson, he doesn't have big numbers, but he's a guy who can also be a threat running the ball. Passing wise, Jones 75 of 133. He has 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, completing 56% of his passes. He has 1,006 yards. His passing improves as his running improves, so they need him to get his carries and keep Jackson State honest, and then take advantage of a guy like Kamari Everett. He has 15 catches for 186 yards and 1 touchdown. Marcus Riley, 14 catches for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dylan Lee leads the team with 16 catches for 202 yards. And Corey Reed has 7 catches for 79 yards. So that they have, they have the guys that can make the plays offensively. And as you saw, they have a pretty high ranking offense this season. So they're capable defensively. They're led in tackles by Amory Jones with 27 and Ryan Blake with 24 tackles for loss. McKenzie with 3.5 sacks. Loving with 2 and interceptions. Amari Hill Robertson has 3. He's definitely an all SWAC type of guy. Both teams have great return guys. So this is a game that a play can be had in the return game. Darnell Dees is one of the top kick returners in the league. Isaiah Bolden is also one of the top kick returners in the league. So this is a game where maybe a special teams play can turn the tide in this game. If you're Bethune-Cookman, you need any edge you can get to keep this game close, because I don't really see it being very close. And I like Jackson State by a score of 49-12. I think Bethune-Cookman will get some plays here, though, but I think Jackson State will pull this one on out. And that takes us to our next game, which is Alabama A&M taking on Arkansas Pine Bluff in St. Louis. This if you watch SWAC Smoke at all, I've been talking about this game one way or the other for the whole season, and it's here. I've been interested in the promotion of this game, hadn't really seen much. But this game is two teams who the numbers don't look it, but these two teams are kind of going in different directions. Pine Bluff, they scored a lot of points early in the season in their non-conference games. But since conference play started, they've been getting obliterated. They had a pretty solid up against Tennessee State, Texas Southern last week, but they've been up and down. So right now they're averaging 28.7 points per game. Alabama A&M averages 19.5. They've been playing better as the season has gone on. They picked up a couple of victories, so they're starting to kind of turn some things around. Defensively, Alabama A&M allows 36.8 points per game. Pine Bluff 38.2. Total offense, Alabama A&M is 5th in the league with 360 yards per game. Pine Bluff 333. That's 7th place. Pine Bluff 5.1 yards per play. A&M 4.9. Defensively, Alabama A&M is 8th in the league, allowing 413 yards per game and 6.2 yards per play. Pine Bluff is right behind them at 9, 426 per game, 6.3 yards per play. Rushing offense, Alabama State is Alabama A&M is 8th in the league at 148 yards per game, rushing 3.7 yards per carry. Pine Bluff is 6th in the league at 152 yards per game and 4.5 yards per carry. Defensively, Alabama A&M is 3rd defensively in rushing defense. This defense has improved so much this season. They allow 129 yards per game, 4.1 yards per carry. Pine Bluff is 9th at 203 yards per game allowed at 5.2 yards per carry. Excuse me. Passing offense, this is probably the biggest difference in this game. Pine Bluff passing attack has been up really bad this season. They're averaging 180 yards per game. They have 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Alabama A&M is starting to round in the form. They're 4th in the league at 211 per game. They have 6 touchdowns and they have 10 interceptions. So turnovers have definitely been a thorn in the side of both of these offenses. Alabama A&M is 11th in the league in passing offense at 285 yards per game. They have allowed 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Pine Bluff is 8th in the league, 223 yards per game, 14 touchdowns allowed and 5 interceptions. So both of these teams can be had through the air, but Pine Bluff hasn't really been able to pass the ball well this season. So that's going to be a factor for them. Pine Bluff, right now, they lead the league at 42 yards per punt. Alabama A&M is 10th in the league at 36 yards per punt. Alabama A&M allows they allow 18 sacks, which is 11th in the league. Pine Bluff is 6th in the league, allowing 12 sacks. So they, neither one of them really protects the quarterback very well. But Pine Bluff's offensive line is really good. They just played against a couple of teams. Well, the last 3 teams they played are pretty good in getting sacks. So that kind of hurts their numbers. 2 of the 3 teams they played in the last 3 weeks are 1-3 in sacks by their defense. So that definitely can kind of hurt you numbers wise. First downs, Pine Bluff is ninth in the league at 17.8 first downs per game. Alabama A&M is third at 20.5 first downs per game. Opponents average 22.7 first downs per game for Alabama A&M, which is ninth, and Pine Bluff's opponents 20 first downs per game, which is fifth. Third down conversions, Alabama A&M is ninth at 31.3%. Pine Bluff is 11th at 28.8%. Pine Bluff opponents convert 41.5% on third downs, which is ninth. A&M is 10th at 44.6%. So neither team really does a good job on third down. A&M does neither one of them do good on third downs on either side of the ball. It has going to be an interesting factor in this game. Alabama A&M is eighth in the league on fourth downs at 43%. Pine Bluff is ninth at 42%. Alabama A&M opponents convert 60% on fourth down, which is 10th. Pine Bluff's opponents only convert 18% on fourth down, so that leads the league. They get fourth down stops, they don't get third down stops. Pine Bluff offensively, their guy on the ground is Kayvon Britton, plain and simple. 477 yards. He averages 5.4 yards per carry. He has 8 touchdowns. He had a great bounce back game last week, so went over 100 yards again. He's a guy that's a game breaker, so that's their weapon. Passing wise, Skylar Perry's been inconsistent this season. He's been injured as well. He's 65 of 126, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, completing 52% of his passes, 687 yards on the season. After that, young guys, and they've been struggling. So it's up to Perry to be more consistent to keep this offense going. Raekwon Prince leads the team with 22 catches for 236 yards and 3 touchdowns. Chris Cochran, 19 catches, 242 yards and a touchdown. Williams, 14 catches. Britton has 14 catches as well, so that's definitely a nice weapon out the backfield. The defense has been banged up. They've had some key guys that are not playing, so that definitely hurts them. Right now, Woods leads the team with 37 tackles. Clark has 3.5 tackles for loss. Smith has 3.5 tackles for loss to lead the team. Clark leads the team with 3 sacks, and they have 5 guys with 1 interception apiece. So they, pretty much spread their interceptions around. A&M, they right now they got a 2-headed monster at quarterback. You have Quincy Casey and Xavier Langford. They've both been able to make some things happen for this offense. But this offense this season starts and ends with Eaglin at running back. He's been a very big weapon for them this season. Donovan Eaglin, he has 400 yards on the season, 5.5 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns. The last few weeks, he's been on a tear, over 100 yards the last 2 games apiece. So he's definitely a big weapon in this game. I can see him really doing a good job of keeping this offense moving down the field. You also have Jemison, who came on and picked up some tough yardage for them. Langford can run the ball. Their running game is a lot better this season because it has more weapons. You can have more guys carry the ball. Passing wise, like I said, they can go with either guy. Langford is 80 of 146, 55% completions, 883 yards, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Casey, 30 of 58, 52%, 361 yards. He has 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The passing game, Brian Jenkins has 18 catches, 142 yards. Isaiah Cox, 18 catches, 279 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cameron Young, 13 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Keenan Hambrick, 13 catches, 151 yards, and a touchdown. Ibrahim has 13 catches for 138 yards. So they have the guys. This offense is kind of starting to round in the form. It took a little while, but I think they're starting to click. They're not the level as they've been the last few years, but they're starting to click, and that's definitely bodes well for them. Moses Douglas leads the team with 31 tackles. Drake Terry with 3. Rice with 28. Tackles for loss. Hayes has 7.5. Terry has 6. Thomas Douglas 5.5. Thomas Douglas leads the team with 3 sacks, McNeil with 2 interceptions. Rice and Douglas each have 2, and Eberhard has 1. So I think this is Alabama A&M's game to lose. They've been looking better, like I said, week in and week out, they've been looking better, especially since they played these couple games at home. Going on, not necessarily a road game, but going back away from home is going to be an interesting move for them. But Pine Bluff's been so up and down this season. I don't think Pine Bluff is playing good football right now. Now, they were in the game against Texas Southern, but they just have, I think that's the best they've looked since probably the first half of the Alcorn game a few weeks ago. But I like Alabama A&M in this game by a score of 34-20. I think I think it'll be a tight game for a little while, but I think the offense and the running game led by Eaglin will get the job done for them. And that brings us to our game of the week. I will throw the caveat on this. This prediction is only based on where we stand right now. I know Prairie View and Southern had a fight, before pregame, and the SWAC is looking into that. And if any suspensions are being made against Southern, then that can definitely impact this game, depending on who, the number of guys or whatever. But I can't really speculate on that because there's no ruling made yet. So I'm gonna basically make my prediction based on both teams coming in as they are today. So if by the time this video drops tomorrow, which I'm recording this on Tuesday, by the time this video drops tomorrow, if sometime when you're watching this video tomorrow or Thursday, the SWAC makes a ruling, then you can throw this out. But right now, I have to operate on the assumption that everybody's there because I don't know who was in it. So I can't throw those guys out of my prediction. So we'll start with the offenses. Southern's offense and Alcorn's offense are both in the top portion of the league in scoring. Southern is second in the league at 41.4 points per game. Alcorn is at 25. Defensively, Southern's defense allows 21 points per game. Alcorn, which is second, Alcorn is sixth at 26 points per game. So I'm already going to tell you, I think it's going to be a close game. Obviously, last year's game came down to a field goal. Both teams were able to move the ball at will. I think it'll be a little bit more balanced than last season. I think defenses will be able to make some plays, but offensively, I think both teams will still have some success. Southern is second in the league in total offense at 447. They average 7 yards per play, which leads the league. Alcorn is at 375 per game, and they average 5.8 yards per play. Southern defensively is second in the league in total defense at 301 yards per game. They allow 4.7 yards per play. Alcorn is fifth in the league at 371 per game, and they allow 5.4 yards per play. So, like I said, I think either unit on either team can be a factor in this game. Alcorn and Southern are 1 and 2 in the league in rushing offense. Southern at 245 per game, 6.1 yards per carry. Alcorn at 216 per game, 5.3 yards per carry. So both teams want to run the football. They're both good at it. Both teams are pretty solid against the run. Southern is second in the league, allowing 118 yards per game, 3.5 yards per carry. Alcorn is sixth in the league at 142 yards per game. They allow 3.7 yards per carry. Passing, Alcorn is 10th in the league in passing at 159 yards per game. They have 3 touchdowns and they've thrown 2 interceptions. Southern is 5th in the league in passing at 202 per game. They have 9 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Southern's offense the last couple of weeks has gotten better in the passing attack. So that could be a big factor in this game. Alcorn's defense is actually 10th in the league against the pass, allowing 229 per game. They have 8 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Jack Southern is 3rd in the league, allowing 182 yards per game through the air. They have 6 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, which leads the league. Southern has been very good in the punting game. They've only punted 13 times, which is the least amount of punts in the season. This season for any team, but they average 41.8 yards per punt. They can definitely, have a very solid kicking unit. They are one of the only teams in the league without a touchback in the punt game. and they've been able to get a few punts down inside the 20. So that's a big weapon for them. Alcorn, the punting game has not been good this season. They've averaged 31.5 yards per punt. So if there's anything that can change this game, it's the punting unit. Field position is definitely going to be a factor in this game. And if Alcorn can't really flip the field, or Southern is able to get good punts off, this can definitely change this game. Southern is actually 4th in the league in punt returns, so that's something to look out for. Alcorn only has 2 punt returns on the season for -3 yards. So to me, with a team that doesn't punt the ball well and a team that returns well, that can change this game. So that's definitely probably one of the X factors to look at in this game. Southern allows 10 sacks on the season. Alcorn allows 6. That's 1st place and 4th place, respectively. So they both protect the quarterback pretty well. Alcorn leads the league with 20 sacks. So that's a nice matchup to watch, this Alcorn, pass rush against Southern's offensive line. Southern is 3rd in the league at 15 sacks. Again, nice matchup, pass rush against a solid offensive line. Whoever does a better job of not necessarily getting sacks, but getting pressure, is definitely going to impact this game. Now, both quarterbacks are able to get out of the pocket. McCray is obviously a great runner for Southern, so that's a big game changer for them in terms of being able to get away from the pressure and kind of making the defense have to be a little bit more hesitant, because you have a guy who can and will get out of the pocket and take off. First down, Southern is 2nd in the league at 21.6 first downs per game. Alcorn is 5th at 18.4. Southern's opponents convert 17 first downs per game, which is 2nd. Alcorn's 20 first downs per game, which is 6th. Southern is 2nd in the league at 3rd down conversions at 48%. Alcorn is 5th at 34.7%. Southern is 2nd in the league, allowing 30% on 3rd downs. Alcorn is 7th at 39%. Alcorn converts 60% on 4th downs, 3 of 5. Southern is 11th in the league at 3 of 8 for 37%. Southern's opponents are 2 of 8 on 4th down for 25%. Alcorn's opponents 4 of 8 for 50%. Southern's 4th. Alcorn is 9th. Looking at some of the individual guys for Alcorn, the running game, you have Jarvion Howard, who is the leading rusher in the league right now at 646 yards. He's a threat. He has 6.7 yards per carry and a longer 78. He has 8 touchdowns. So that's a big, big weapon for them in the run game. Obviously, you have Nico Duffy and Leatherwood also can carry the ball for them. Allen is not really a guy that's going to make a lot of plays as a runner for them. Passing wise, he's been kind of up and down this season. He's 70 of 116, converting 60% of his passes, 762 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. The passing attack, as far as receivers go, CJ Bolar leads the team with 17 catches for 162 yards. Malik Rogers, 12 catches, 209 yards and a touchdown. Warren Anthony, 12 catches, 118 yards and a touchdown. Defensively, they're led in tackles by Terrence Ellis with 29, Trevor James with 29, Kinsler with 21. Tackles for loss, Ellis, James, and Webb, they each have 5 tackles for loss apiece. Sacks, Bailey and Ballard each have 3. Ellis and Rice have 2.5. Webb and Dawson have 2. Like I said, they have 20 sacks as a team, so including 10 against McNeese. So that this team can definitely get pressure on the quarterback. The interceptions are by 3 different guys. Southern, obviously, Southern does almost everything by committee. When you look at the numbers, the running attack, they have 4 guys who can carry the ball. McCray, the quarterback, leads the team with 384 yards on the ground. He has 7.8 yards per carry and 4 touchdowns. Sims, 251 yards. He averages 4.8 yards per carry. He's more of the power type back. He has 2 touchdowns. Rhymes is more the all-around type of guy. He has 236 yards and 6.1 yards per carry with 4 touchdowns. Ligon is another young guy he has pretty solid speed. He has 163 yards, 4.4 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. McCray, the last 2 weeks has been a lot better He's 64 of 98, 5 touchdowns. Excuse me, 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, completing 65% of his passes for 819 yards. If he gets out the pocket, he's a threat to run and throw, and that's when the offense has really been clicking. The passing game, they only have one guy with double-digit catches. That's Chandler Whitfield, but they have a lot of guys who are capable of catching the ball. Sims has 9 catches. Allen has 8. Dyson has 8. Rhymes has 7. Pete has 7, including 2 touchdowns last week. Perkins has 5. King and Ligon have 4. So they definitely don't have anybody with great numbers individually, but they have guys who can make plays with the ball. And every week it's been a different guy making plays in the pass game. Campbell leads the team with 28 tackles. Harris 25. Benny McCray 22. Trey Lang 22 tackles for loss. Lang leads the team with 8.5 tackles for loss. Brown with 6. Jordan Lewis with 4. He missed last week's game. We'll see what his status is. Givens has 3.5. Sacks. Brown and Lewis have 3. Lang has 2.5. Dumas 1.5. So they definitely can get the pressure on the quarterback. Jason Dumas is a guy in the middle of that defense that can definitely cause some problems. He's a guy to definitely look out for. Like I said, Southern has 9 interceptions on the season. Harris has 2. Carter has 2. And then they have a few guys with 1 apiece. Southern has 5 defensive touchdowns this season, which actually leads the country. That's a number that they are very capable of turning defense into offense if they get the ball in their hands. So if Alcorn turns the ball over, I can easily see Southern getting a touchdown because they are more than capable of scoring touchdowns with their defense, including 4 pick sixes. So you definitely want to be careful when you throw the ball because if they do get an interception, it's going from offense to defense very quickly. Again, this game is basically my prediction is based on what's going on right now. Everything that comes out after today, you can probably ball this up and throw it out if the SWAC makes any ruling against Southern. But right now, I think it's going to be a close game. Last year's game, like I said, was a very close game. Came down to last-second field goal. I think this game is going to be close, but I don't think it's going to be a last-second type of game. But I think it's going to be a fourth-quarter decisive type of game. So I think Southern being able to be better passing the ball these last couple of weeks against an Alcorn pass defense that's not necessarily great in coverage, but great with pressure. If Southern can neutralize that pressure, I think they'll be able to hit some big pass plays, or both teams run the ball well. So I expect Howard to get a lot of carries against Southern. If Alcorn gets the lead, then Coach Manera is not afraid to take the air out of the football with his running game, since their running game is very, very solid. But I think it's going to be an entertaining game. It's going to be a close game. This is a big West Division matchup. I like Southern in this game by a score of 30-28. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter. And I think that, Southern will make a couple more plays to win this game. I think the fact that Alcorn's punting unit has not been good all year, I think that's going to hurt them in this game. Southern's been pretty solid on punt returns. They come close to breaking a couple this season. So, maybe this is the week that they get that big return. But I like Southern by a score of 30-28. So that's going to do it for today's episode, man. I'd like to thank y'all for tuning in. And, we'll catch y'all on Thursday for SWAC Smoke, live 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then Sunday, we'll recap these games and have a good time. So football, it's my birthday weekend, man. I'm so excited. Going to a football game on Friday, then a SWAC football game on Saturday, man. You can't beat that for a nice birthday present. So, man, y'all, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all on Thursday for SWAC Smoke. Y'all have a good hump day, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.